What if the biggest royal exile wasn't announced with a dramatic speech, but with empty spaces, closed doors, missing invitations, and silence that spoke louder than any headline? That's the mystery everyone keeps circling back to. Because once upon a time, Meghan Markle walked into the royal family as the woman who was supposed to modernize the monarchy. Cameras adored her. Crowds followed her every move. Every appearance became global news. But then everything exploded. The interviews, the accusations, the documentaries, the books, the endless public battles. And suddenly something strange started happening. Not dramatic confrontations, not public arguments, something far colder. The invitations stopped. The doors quietly closed. And one by one, some of the world's biggest stages seemed to disappear from under her feet. Coincidence or carefully delivered consequences? Let's start with the moment that made the entire world realize something had fundamentally changed. After spending years criticizing royal life and insisting freedom was worth everything, Meghan reportedly expected to return for the Platinum Jubilee as though history could simply be rewritten. The palace, however, had another script entirely. When the official balcony guest list arrived, her name wasn't hidden or misplaced, it simply wasn't there. Working royals only. That single decision said more than 1,000 official statements ever could. The woman who once stood front and center beside the Queen suddenly wasn't even close to the balcony that had helped define her public image.
The Queen, you mentioned she's going to have her Jubilee, her 75th anniversary on the throne in a couple of weeks, and she has decided who will be on the official balcony, which, you can explain to us why that matters, but not everybody gets up there with her. And these two did not make the cut. Meghan and Harry are not on the list, neither is Prince Andrew, and it almost seems like there's sort of an A list of royals now and a B or D list of royals now, and these two are suddenly realizing they're on the ladder.
And that wasn't where the embarrassment ended. When Harry and Meghan attended events they couldn't realistically be excluded from, the positioning told another story. No spotlight, no central placement, no carefully crafted royal imagery. Instead, they found themselves seated far away from senior royals, almost like distant relatives attending someone else's celebration rather than major figures who had once represented the future of the monarchy. The symbolism was impossible to ignore. Thousands of cameras captured exactly where they weren't.
And Harry and Meghan, hand in hand, this was the couple's first official public appearance in the UK since leaving royal life 2 years ago. No evidence of the family drama that's dominated headlines, but the Sussexes are now very much second-row royals, taking their seats away from senior family members as the monarch's line of succession moved as one down the aisle. A clear visual of what Britain's future will look like.
Then came the public reaction nobody could edit away. As crowds gathered outside, cheers mixed with something far more uncomfortable. Boos echoed loudly enough that television microphones couldn't completely hide them. For a couple who had flown thousands of miles expecting history's biggest royal celebration, the atmosphere suddenly felt very different. They had left the institution, criticized it from every available platform, then returned expecting familiar applause. Instead, the mood suggested many people hadn't forgotten a single interview or a single accusation.
And Annalise, before you go, Prince Harry, what's been the reaction to him and his wife? They've really been in the second row, haven't they, of the royals during this Platinum Jubilee?
Oh yeah, second row and the other side we saw in the church yesterday. They were so worried about any kind of imagery that we saw from that Commonwealth service where they were obviously so all upset with each other. What we've seen is that there was, I was in front of St Paul's Cathedral yesterday when they did arrive. There was a portion of the crowd that booed quite loudly. The diehard royal fans, a lot of them say that they are disappointed in how Harry and Meghan have conducted their step back from royal life, that they don't agree with many of their criticisms of the royal family.
If that wasn't humiliating enough, the next chapter raised even more questions. King Charles's coronation wasn't just another royal ceremony. It was history unfolding before the world's eyes. Every family member would want to witness it, wouldn't they? Yet Meghan stayed behind in California while Harry attended alone. Officially, the explanation centered around Archie's birthday, but critics immediately questioned whether that reason explained everything. Was staying away really about family celebrations or avoiding another painfully cold reception from both the palace and the British public? The timing fueled endless speculation because every move surrounding this coronation seemed loaded with hidden meaning. Even more astonishing were reports suggesting discussions had taken place behind the scenes about appearing on the Buckingham Palace balcony once again, the very same balcony that had already been declared exclusive to working royals. After years of public criticism, was there really an expectation that negotiations could somehow reverse fix everything? To many observers, it looked less like reconciliation and more like a desperate attempt to reclaim an image that had already slipped away.
Is it right for me to say that you think that Meghan might be trying to avoid some inevitable backlash? What's going on?
Of course, she doesn't want to be booed. And the reality is, if she had attended the coronation, she would have been booed. The British public were going to boo her. And Meghan knew that. And she didn't want to put herself through that. Mark my words, Patrick, if Meghan thought there was any way she could attend the coronation and be welcomed with rapturous applause by the British public, she would be here. Because she knows that her career hinges on a proximity to the royal family. That's how she gets those big bucks deals with the likes of Netflix and Spotify. Don't believe, Patrick, that odd little bloke, Omid Scobie. You know, he's the propaganda merchant who just likes to parrot whatever Harry and Meghan are telling him on a particular day. And he's trying to say, oh, this is all down to Archie's birthday party. Absolute rubbish. If Meghan could be here, she would be here, but she knows that she would not be welcome.
Then reality arrived. Harry attended the coronation alone. Cameras caught him seated well behind senior royals. No grand entrance, no family reunion, no extended celebrations afterward. Almost before spectators had finished watching the ceremony, he was reportedly heading back to California. The visit felt brief, distant, and strangely detached, leaving countless viewers wondering whether this wasn't simply attendance, but another unmistakable reminder that his role inside the institution had fundamentally changed.
That Harry and Meghan want to have a special family moment. They want to be included on the balcony if they attend the coronations. They're calling them negotiations.
Negotiations to be on the balcony. So they say it's because they want a special family moment. Is this the family that they've sought to destroy over the last 2 or 3 years? That family?
Well, Russell, where's Thomas Markle is literally in the same time zone as these people. Yeah. If they want a special family moment, meet at a Burger King down the street.
And take a Polaroid.
Yeah, I mean, special family moment, you're asking for a lot. They know the whole world is watching and they've got to...
Kinsey, what could their motivation possibly be then, in terms of wanting to fly over here to Britain and be on the balcony at one of the most auspicious occasions that we've seen in this country, with all the pomp and ceremony that goes with it in the last 70 years? I mean, what could their possible motivation be?
The thing is...
Do you think it might be money, fame, fortune, and also probably coming over here and causing problems for the family that they have already caused so many problems for? It sounds like the entire contents of book number 2 on its way, don't you? I mean, it's literally they're writing their own content as they go along.
The next emotional blow came after Queen Elizabeth II's passing. Harry was granted permission to wear military uniform during the vigil, a moment many believed would honor his decade of military service. Yet eagle-eyed royal watchers immediately noticed something unusual. Details present on Prince William's uniform were missing from Harry's. Small? Perhaps, but inside royal tradition, tiny details often carry enormous meaning. Suddenly, commentators began asking why those differences existed, and the answer pointed back to positions Harry no longer held after stepping away from royal duties. What appeared insignificant to casual viewers became another symbolic reminder that walking away from royal life had lasting consequences beyond headlines and interviews.
That Prince Harry had been desperately unhappy. Now, the reason for this, obviously he should have been thrilled that he was allowed to wear a uniform, but when this uniform arrived, it was delivered, and it didn't have the ER sort of epaulettes on the shoulder that Prince William had. And people were saying, oh, you know, it's terrible, it was an example of him being badly treated. But what it was you only get these if you're an aide-de-camp of the Queen, and he lost that role. So others like Prince Andrew or Prince William still had that role up until the Queen's death, whereas Harry didn't. He lost that along with everything else.
It's fascinating to me, the detail of that, whereas, like, you know, if I was in charge of all of that, I might have missed that detail. But
how did it get into the public domain? Was it put into the public domain by a source close to Prince Harry? Indeed it was.
Right.
So carping and moaning 24 hours, 36 hours before the Queen's funeral, I thought was the wrong time. If he was unhappy about that, there was another time and place for it. And as Richard pointed out, there was a very good reason why, and if he just picked up the phone to someone, they could have explained it to him.
And just when observers thought the surprises were over, another astonishing report surfaced. After the Queen's funeral concluded, claims emerged that Harry and Meghan had requested to travel back to America aboard Air Force One with the President of the United States. Whether viewed as confidence or complete miscalculation, the request reportedly received a simple answer: no. Another door closed. Another headline exploded. Another reminder that status outside the monarchy no longer carried the same influence many believed it once did. One rejection might be dismissed, two could be coincidence, but by now, a pattern was beginning to emerge, and the next chapter would make that pattern even harder to ignore. And just when it seemed like the pattern couldn't get clearer, the exclusions didn't slow down, they escalated. The royal calendar kept moving, the pageantry continued, the cameras kept rolling, but Harry and Meghan were no longer part of that picture. Trooping the Colour arrived, one of the most iconic annual events, the kind of spectacle that once helped define their global appeal. And for the first time in Harry's life, there was no invitation. No formal rejection, no dramatic announcement, just silence. No seat reserved, no role to play. It was as if the institution had quietly erased them from the script altogether. And the most unsettling part? The event went on flawlessly. The crowds cheered, the balcony filled, the cameras flashed, and no one seemed to be searching for the missing couple. That silence echoed even louder when the story shifted back to Frogmore Cottage, the home gifted to them by the Queen herself, a symbol of trust, a symbol of belonging, a place that had been renovated at enormous cost to welcome them into royal life. But after interviews, accusations, and Harry's explosive memoir, something finally snapped. King Charles made a move that felt less like retaliation and more like a line drawn in stone. They were asked to vacate, not negotiate, not reconsider, leave, and suddenly the last physical tie they had to the United Kingdom vanished. The message was unmistakable. This wasn't just distance anymore. This was separation. Then came Remembrance Sunday, a moment that should have transcended everything else. A day about service, sacrifice, and respect. Harry, a veteran with years of military duty, reportedly wanted a wreath laid in his name at the cenotaph. A simple gesture, a symbolic connection. And yet, the answer came back no. Not a working royal, not entitled, it wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it landed heavily. Because while the rest of the royal family stood together in London honoring the fallen, Harry watched from thousands of miles away. And when alternative images surfaced carefully staged, perfectly framed, the reaction only intensified. Critics questioned whether it was remembrance or something else entirely. Another moment that blurred the line between sincerity and spectacle. The pattern continued internationally. A trip to Jordan that should have elevated their global image instead raised more questions. They arrived with cameras, with purpose, with the optics of influence. But when it came to the Jordanian royal family, there was nothing. No meeting, no acknowledgement, no quiet diplomatic handshake behind closed doors, just absence. And in royal circles, absence is rarely accidental. It's deliberate, it's calculated, it speaks. Then the personal cuts began to show. Family events where invitations once felt automatic suddenly became selective. A royal wedding guest list circulated, and once again, their names were missing. Not delayed, not conditional, simply not there. And the explanations that followed felt thin compared to the reality everyone could see. Relationships that had once been public and visible now seemed fractured beyond repair. Trust, once broken, hadn't been restored. And then came Balmoral, the most private and sacred retreat of the royal family. Invitations had reportedly been extended in the past, repeatedly declined. But when the Queen's final days approached, everything changed. Suddenly, there was urgency, a desire to be present, a need to be there. But this time, the answer came back cold and final: she was not welcome. One sentence, but it carried years of history behind it. Missed opportunities, broken trust, and a moment that could never be undone. By the time the story shifted to Hollywood, the pattern had become impossible to ignore. The Met Gala fashion's most exclusive night arrived without their names on the guest list, not once, but repeatedly. The Oscars, the Emmys, the Golden Globes, event after event passed, each one reinforcing the same uncomfortable truth. The world they had stepped into after leaving royal life wasn't opening its doors the way many expected. Instead, it seemed to be closing them just as quietly as the palace once had. And then came the final, almost surreal twist. Reports of uninvited appearances, attempts to enter rooms that weren't expecting them, interactions that felt polite on the surface but revealed something colder underneath, doors that didn't just close, they stayed closed. Even in circles where influence and celebrity usually guarantee access, the answer remained the same: no.